Hi, welcome to the Bucket Detective Developers Commentary. I'm Jesse Barksdale. I did the art and the design and the writing for the game, and this commentary is going to be just, I guess, for anyone that's kind of interested in learning a bit more about the game or about how games in general are made. This is for you. So first things first, if you haven't played the game normally, I hope you're not listening to this developer's commentary, because there's definitely going to be some spoilers. You should also, I would say, play the game, get at least a few of the endings, if not all of them, because otherwise you're kind of going to be just experiencing the game and the endings in maybe a not ideal way. Also, I'm going to apologize for the audio quality of this commentary. I'm recording this on a mic in my room because I thought that if I was sitting in like a professional sound studio, like where we recorded all the other voiceover, that I would be incredibly stiff and unnatural and would sound like I was just reading from a page. So this is the compromise in order to make this sound kind of vaguely casual. So yeah, here we go. So just some general information about Bucket Detective. We made it in an engine called Unity, which is a pretty popular engine for indie game developers, and also it's pretty big with mobile. To give you an idea of some other games made in Unity, Hearthstone was made in Unity, Gone Home was made in Unity, Superhot, Monument Valley, Firewatch. We did Unity 5.5. I did the most of the art. I would say 95% of the actual in-game art was made by me with 3D modeling software called Maya LT, which is like Maya is pretty big, like AAA modeling software, and I think they also use it in film as well. But Maya LT is like the indie version of that has some restrictions on it, but is also cheaper. So I did the models in Maya LT and another piece of software called Modo. And then I made the textures for all of the 3D models mostly in a program called Substance Designer and a little bit of Photoshop, and then used this program called Substance Painter, which is by the same people that make Substance Designer, to apply the textures, sort of fit them onto the models. And maybe I'll get a little bit more into actually how I made the art later. Basically, the game, I first started making the game back in like April 2015, like a really long time ago. But then my appendix ruptured at some point, and I was like in and out of hospitals for it was terrible for like 3 months. I had to get my appendix removed, and I spent like at least 2 weeks in a hospital. So the game kind of got delayed, and I was also working full-time at the time. I was working as a quality assurance person at Naughty Dog. And then I moved to Finland, where I started going to a master's program for game design. So basically, the game kind of started in April 2015. I started actually making it in about August 2015. And then that's about when I started school as well. And so I was kind of working on the game part-time and doing school part-time. And then also eventually I got a job making a part-time job making educational games, which is kind of funny. And so the game was I was just basically working on it whenever I had free time or whatever I could find days. And that's why it took so long to make the game, besides just games taking a really, really long time to make. Basically, after I made Static Speaks My Name and I put that up on Steam, and the game, I put that game up really just kind of hoping that like 100 people would play the game. That was my goal. That was like pretty much the first thing I ever released, and I was like, okay, if I could get like 100 people to play the game and give me feedback and tell me how why this is terrible and not a game and all this stuff, that would be a success. So I released the game, and it did just so much better than I even could have imagined. I mean, at this point, I think 500,000 people have played the game, and it was, there's, I don't know, more than 20 million views on YouTube. I don't even honestly know how to count anymore, because there's just like tons of like 10 to 100,000 view videos, and then there's the big ones with like 6 million views and all that stuff. So anyway, I did this game, Static Speak to a Name, and then I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next, and I started a few sort of failed projects. I had sort of like a side scroller that I was working on for a little while. I had a very weird experimental puzzle game that I was working on with a guy over the internet, and they're just kind of things that I thought were going to be interesting and then didn't turn out to be interesting, or it just didn't work out for whatever reason. So anyway, I was looking for a new game. I thought it'd be cool to do something sort of in a similar style, Static Speaks to a Name, because that game was only 10 minutes long, and I thought, well, there's some cool, like, moody first-person exploration stuff I could do. So I was looking around for ideas, and I saw, actually, the original idea came from an episode of a TV show called Louie, which is like on FX and made by the guy Louis C.K. He's a comedian. And in that episode, there's an episode where he goes in and he's like comes home to his apartment building, and there's like an old woman stuck in an elevator, and she needs him to get medicine. She's like sick or diabetic or something, I can't really remember, but needs medicine, and she can't get out in time, so he has to go into her apartment to get her medicine. And I just remember, for whatever reason, thinking, well, that's kind of a cool, like, that's like the beginning of a game right there. You have some old woman trapped in an elevator, and you need to go get her medicine, and then you go up to the apartment. It was going to be kind of like a multi-chapter surreal thing. You were going to go up there, and you were going to get involved with this party, and I had some ideas which I may actually use in the future. Anyway, the game, though, I ended up sort of, as ideas normally happen, you have sort of a seed of an idea, and then you kind of follow it, and it goes in a whole different direction. So, but what's interesting is that, the elevator sort of was always a thing. I don't know why I just thought putting something in an elevator, because actually I think in the original version of the game, you at some point try and help the woman get out of the elevator, and it ends up crushing her, cutting her in half or something like that. And so that was, I guess, the seed of the idea, was someone dying in an elevator, which obviously still made it into the game. The narrator of the game, who narrates the intro cinematics and the ending cinematics, is voiced by me, Jesse Barksdale. I wanted to do this, like, I don't live in America right now, and I needed to do a voiceover, and it kind of always bothers me when you hear, like, there's like a voiceover done by like someone who's obviously not a native English speaker but trying to be a native English speaker, like a French person who's like trying to do like a Brooklyn accent or something. It's just like a weird, it just feels very weird. And so I wanted to avoid doing that, because I knew that I was going to not be in America and need to hire someone, but I didn't want to just make like a normal sounding American English voiceover and then cast like a non-American. So I thought, well, if I did it in this kind of like weird, fake, broken English almost sounding thing, it would work better. And then I could end up casting someone who wasn't a native English speaker, and you would just think, oh, this is, I don't know, it just felt kind of like interesting and surreal. It ended up that I did the voiceover, so I could have written some American English thing, but I think it like I said, it felt interesting and surreal. It also fits with sort of the theme of the game of being like a bad writer. It's sort of written in bad prose. Then also I'm not a very good actor, so I don't think I could have done something particularly dynamic. Like, it was good for me to be able to like do like a sentence that's like, book is not good, and not have to have a range of emotions. Like, I definitely couldn't have played Gwen Sleeveless, who's actually a human. The animations for cutting the finger, the hand, and the legs were one of the big things of in-game art that I didn't do. I am not a very good character artist or animator. And so I had a friend of mine named Mikael Imonen do these animations. He also did the baby. He modeled the baby. I think that for these animations, he didn't actually model these hands. We used like some Unity Asset Store plugin, and he just tweaked them and maimed them so that they would be cut off properly. And I think these turned out really well. This was something I was like dreading for a really long time, because I knew that it was really important. The game was this was a central element of the game, and I was just, for a long time, I was like, God, how am I going to do this? I don't know how to animate, and fingers have so many bones in them. It's just going to look so unnatural and terrible, and so I was really happy that I was able to have him do that. The drawings for the intro and ending cutscenes. Those were originally, I was going to do the art for those as well, because it's sort of the way they're drawn right now is basically in sort of the style that I kind of naturally draw in, because I don't actually really have much real drawing ability. I can kind of only draw ugly people, but so originally I was going to draw those. It just ended up, already this game with me doing or the majority of the art in the game, and doing the design and doing the writing and being the project lead and having to just manage so many things. Already the game was biting off way more than I really should have been taking on. So to do these drawings on top of it, I just knew I was going to burn myself out, and I was afraid I wasn't going to finish this game, because I think it ended up being, God, I can't even remember, maybe 90 drawings or something. So the drawings were done by someone named Kit Byrne, who I got in contact with on a game developer Slack channel that I'm on. I think she's based in the UK, they're just incredible. She basically, I did the storyboards for them, and we kind of worked together to put together a style that I thought fit the game and kind of felt it was, I guess, very adapted. Like, I'd seen some of her drawings, and she had this one style that I was like, you know what? This is almost like how I draw. And I bet you if we just make the faces a little weirder and do it in this kind of black and white thing, I think it could fit the style of the game. Yeah, so she did those drawings, and I think they turned out just incredible, like I said. And I think that it's kind of crazy. Like, I feel like it was a very weird experience, because I did these storyboards, and then she would take kind of my mediocre drawings and do them like really well. It was like this magic thing where I could do a drawing, and then someone would come along and draw it better than I could. And it was it just felt really cool, because I'd never really done that before. When we put them in the game, they one problem we had was that they felt very still, because it's sort of weird to just look at a still image, even though the images were going very quickly, which was important. You'd have one drawing, then another, which did give it some movement. So what we ended up doing is my programmer Samu wrote a custom shader. A shader is basically the simple way of describing it is it's kind of like code which tells the graphics card how to render stuff, and you can do most of the cool effects that you see in games, or a lot of the kind of cool weird effects that you see in games are probably shader effects. So anyway, he wrote a shader that would basically it would take any color value that was from like middle gray to black, and it would basically move it. And so I forget if we ended up doing 2 or 3 frames of movement, but it would it would sort of step between these different lengths of movement. So it kind of gave the effect of a hand-drawn shaky line thing without us actually having to draw every frame 2 or 3 times, which is obviously a major time saver.